So have you ever heard of a language having its own special day, like a whole day dedicated to celebrating it?
I can't say that I have.
Well, now there is. The Soninke language has its very own day.
Wow, that's pretty special. How did that happen?
Let's dive into this really interesting blog, Malaina24, to find out.
Okay, so Malaina24, what is that?
So imagine this, a vibrant online space, right from the Gambia. And it's run by someone, this incredible individual, who lives and breathes Soninke culture.
So it's like a hub for all things Soninke.
It is. It's all about connecting the Soninke diaspora, all those folks spread out across the globe, keeping those traditions alive no matter where they are.
I like it. It really speaks to the power of language, right? How it can bind communities, even across continents in our digital age.
Exactly. And Malaina24 recently shared some amazing news. Back in October last year, 2023, UNESCO, that big organization focused on culture and education, well, they officially declared September 25th as the International Day of the Soninke Language.
Wow, that's incredible. A whole day dedicated to Soninke. When was the first celebration?
Well, get this. This year marks the very first one.
Oh, wow. So this is a big moment, not just for the Soninke people, but for recognizing the importance of language in preserving cultural identity.
Speaking of the Soninke people, could you give us a bit of background on who they are, for those who might not be familiar?
Absolutely. The Soninke people are primarily found across several West African countries, the Gambia, Senegal, Guinea-Bissau, Mali. They have a rich and vibrant history in the region.
And throughout that history, they've passed down their language, Soninke, also known as Serahul, through generations. Imagine all those stories woven into the very fabric of the language.
It's true, each word, each phrase carries so much weight, so much history.
It makes you realize how important it is to keep languages like this alive, right?
It is, and I think that's what makes this UNESCO designation even more significant. It's a way to help safeguard these endangered languages, these linguistic traditions that are at risk of fading away. It's like protecting a beautiful mosaic. Each language, a precious tile that contributes to the bigger picture.
A safe space for those languages to thrive, even as the world around them constantly changes. Speaking of change, Malaina24 highlighted a cool way. The Gambia is marking this first ever International Day of the Soninke language, a march.
A march, that's fantastic. There's nothing quite like a public display of cultural pride.
Exactly. They're planning this march starting from Churchillstown Petrol Station all the way to the Westfield Youth Monument. Imagine the visual impact of that.
Incredibly powerful. It's a way to raise awareness not only within the community, but also for those outside of it, fostering this sense of understanding and appreciation for the Soninke culture. It's invaluable.
And I was really struck by the involvement of Sheriff Marie Tambu, the president of the Sampu Ducati Youth Committee. He seems to be a key figure in organizing this whole celebration in the Gambia.
And what's remarkable is that he's actually a lawyer by profession. It speaks volumes about the unifying power of this event. People from all walks of life are coming together to celebrate this shared heritage.
It's really quite amazing. And Malaina24 actually quoted Tambadou in their blog post. He's encouraging everyone, particularly the Soninke community, to come out and celebrate. His words really resonated.
And his call to action, it goes beyond just the Gambia, right? I mean, this recognition, it's incredibly meaningful for the Soninke diaspora, those living outside their traditional homeland.
That's what's really sticking with me. It's not just about the people in Africa celebrating, right?
Yeah.
Remember we were talking about the diaspora earlier. This UNESCO recognition helps connect them to their heritage, no matter where they are in the world.
It's that tangible thread, isn't it? Linking them to their cultural identity, allowing them to connect with something larger than themselves and transcending geographical boundaries. It's pretty amazing.
Imagine a language spoken for centuries, and now with this UNESCO recognition, it's like a spotlight shining on it for all the world to see.
It really is incredible. I mean, you said it. Suddenly, this language isn't just a local language anymore. It's on par with all those other languages celebrated by UNESCO. And hopefully with that comes more awareness, more resources, more support for Soninke.
This whole UNESCO recognition has got me thinking. It's not just any language that gets its own day, right? So what makes Soninke stand out? I mean, what makes it worthy of this global spotlight?
You've hit on a really crucial point there. It's not as simple as just having a certain number of speakers. UNESCO, they've got a pretty rigorous selection process.
Oh, really? So there's more to it than just like raw numbers.
Absolutely. UNESCO delves deeper. They consider a language's cultural significance, its history, the vital role it plays within its community, and importantly, the challenges it faces.
Okay, I get it. It's about the bigger picture.
Yep.
But for Soninke specifically, What were some of those factors, those things that might have tipped the scales in its favor?
Well, here's something that might surprise you. Even though Soninke boasts millions of speakers, it's actually classified as an endangered language.
Hold on, really? Millions of people speak it, but it's still considered endangered.
That's the reality. And it highlights a really important point. A language's vitality isn't just about the sheer number of speakers, but also about its transmission to the younger generation. And unfortunately, Soninke faces some pretty stiff competition from more dominant languages.
I see what you mean. It's like, even if millions speak it now, if kids aren't growing up speaking it, that's a problem.
Exactly. And that's where this UNESCO recognition comes in. It's like shining a spotlight on this vulnerability, this need for support.
Right. It's like saying, hey, world, this language needs our attention.
Precisely. And that support can manifest in so many ways, from funding for language learning programs to initiatives that document and preserve traditional Soninke stories and songs, even just raising awareness in everyday life, making speaking Soninke a source of pride rather than something to be ashamed of.
So it's about creating an environment where the language can thrive again.
Exactly. Because when a language thrives, so too does the culture and the community it represents. Imagine for a moment being a part of the Soninke community and witnessing your language celebrated on an international level. It's more than just an honor, it's a powerful validation, a message that your heritage matters, your culture matters, your language matters.
And that message, that validation, it's got to be incredibly empowering, especially for younger generations.
Absolutely. This recognition has the potential to be a catalyst for cultural continuity. Suddenly, there's this renewed sense of pride in speaking Soninke and passing it down, and who knows, it might even spark a wave of creativity, new Soninke literature, music, films. The possibilities are endless.
So it's not just about preserving Soninke as it is now, but about giving it the space to evolve, to grow.
Exactly, because languages, just like cultures, are living, breathing things. They need room to adapt and change with the times while still honoring those deep, rich roots. It's an exciting prospect, wouldn't you say?
It's amazing to think about the impact of this UNESCO recognition, and I don't just mean for the language itself.
Right, it ripples outwards.
It does. Think about it. For the longest time, certain languages and cultures, they've kind of dominated the global stage.
Yeah, you could say that.
But now with Soninke being recognized like this by UNESCO, it's like this door has swung open, inviting the whole world to experience its beauty, its complexity.
You've got a point there. It challenges those existing hierarchies of language and culture, encourages a more inclusive view, a more appreciative view of the world's diversity.
And don't you think it creates space for a different kind of dialogue? Like now, people might actually be more inclined to ask, hey, tell me about Soninke. What's that like? What kind of stories are held within it?
Without a doubt, curiosity is often that first step, isn't it? Towards a deeper understanding and genuine appreciation. This recognition provides a global platform for the Soninke people to share their stories, traditions, their unique worldview with everyone.
It's like we're all invited to this incredible cultural feast. And each language brings its own distinct flavor, its own richness to the table.
Love that analogy. It really gets at that spirit of inclusivity and celebration that UNESCO is all about. And it reminds us that cultural preservation isn't just about safeguarding artifacts or traditions in a museum or something. It's about keeping these living languages alive, spoken, shared, passed on to future generations.
And that brings us full circle, doesn't it?
Hmm.
Back to that lively blog, Malaina24, shining a light on this celebration. It really hits home how such a seemingly simple thing, a blog post, can create these ripples of awareness and appreciation, and they reach so far beyond a single community.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really highlights the power of digital platforms, especially in our interconnected world. Malaina24 has become this virtual bridge connecting the Soninke diaspora, sharing their stories, their culture with a global audience. It's truly impactful.
It makes you realize that we all have a part to play in preserving and celebrating cultural diversity, whether it's supporting organizations like UNESCO, seeking out different voices and perspectives, or even just taking the time to learn about a new language, a new culture, something different from our own.
Absolutely. Cultural preservation is a collective effort. And it starts by recognizing that value, that beauty in what makes us different. It's about embracing a world where multiple languages and cultures can not only coexist, but thrive side by side, enriching each other, and in turn creating this more vibrant and interconnected global tapestry.
It's been incredible to delve into this topic with you.
My pleasure, as always.
And for our listeners, we hope this deep dive into the Soninke language and its newfound global recognition has sparked your curiosity. and maybe even inspired you to explore the rich tapestry of languages and cultures that make our world so fascinating.